Welcome, hola community. How are you? Welcome to another episode of Blender Today, live every day. We are with another special in this quarantine edition content that we are preparing. These daily streams of what's going on in people's life, the developers, artists. Who knows? What is someone that uses nodes for crazy stuff? Is that what is that? It's a mix. Develop artist or something like that. Today we have two people. One of them is is the guy that actually is making these nodes or these everything nodes concept happen. He has lots of experience with nodes. He's the creator of the animation nodes add-on, the pioneer of this crazy concept of using nodes for like for in this case animation, motion graphics, particles. I don't know, we're gonna learn all about it today because our first guest this time is the first time in the live. I think it's the first time in the live stream. I'm super happy to have him here, all the way from Germany. We have here Mr. Jacques Lucke. Give it up. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
It's I'm doing great actually. I'm super happy that you're here. This is like
It's a long time.
it's been a long time. Yes, you used to. Well, you're still working for Blender, right? Full time.
Yeah. Not full time, like 4 days a week. But almost full time.
I mean, with how much work you do and how fast you are, it's like full time. It's like two people at the same time. So the today's show is it's special, and who's best at this than you? It's I'm super happy that you're here, that you want to join the show. We have questions probably from all over, from everything nodes, particle nodes to procedural modeling. I was looking at the questions already, and it's just crazy what people can do with the nodes already, and not even with the functions branch that is coming and the simulation nodes and all of that advanced stuff, but also with what it's already there with Blender 2.83 alpha or 2.82, for example. We've seen it in the November project last year. So on the other side of the ring, we have this, and also from Germany, but in this case is an artist slash crazy mad scientist, because he uses nodes for things that maybe are not even used to, it's supposed to be used for. In this case, we have all the way from the neighbor country, we have Simon Thommes. Hello.
Hey everyone,
how are ya?
Yes, it's good.
Yes, good to have you here. You work full-time for Blender, for the Blender Animation Studio.
Yeah, I just started this, or will start on first officially.
On?
Pretty much.
On now, like today.
The 1st of April.
1st of April. Oh, so you're actually not working now.
Well, yeah.
Kind
I
of.
had 1 month off.
Oops.
2 months.
Sorry for the stealing from your free time, but
It's
like,
fine. It's fine.
I had Jacques Lucke as a guest, so it's just couldn't have less than that. It's great to have you here. I'm super happy that you are not only joining the live stream and answering questions, but also sharing files. In the description of this video, you can already find a file that Simon prepared for us. It's a micro. It's available for everyone. It's on Blender Cloud, but you don't need a subscription. You don't even need an email. That's even better. Like, what else can you? How much better do you want it? Day 9 micro. This is part of your November project.
Yeah, exactly.
From last year.
So for everybody who doesn't know what November was, it was something like Inktober, which you probably know, or some. There are some different other projects, but it was in November last year, where every day you had a different prompt, and you were just tasked to do anything with nodes for that prompt. And for day 9, we had the prompt microbe, and the example that you can download is what I did for that day. Is a procedural shader.
Procedural.
With a whole bunch of vector displacement.
Vector displacement. So basically, I actually already happen to have it here. And I got a friend to send it to me before. And in here we can see that it looks like a sphere. So the November, everything starts from a cube or a sphere, right? Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, for me it was just spheres.
Just spheres for the whole.
It might as well just have been a cube. But
and then somehow you move into render mode, and you see this basically, which is just crazy. It's like, how do you even add the legs and the stuff and like everything? It's like modeling, but basically with nodes, and everything that you see here is possible to do with the current Blender, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was done in November last year, so
even with the Blender from 2.82?
I think so.
Yeah,
it might have been 2.81 actually. I'm not sure.
Wow, already. So
but, I mean, the things that I needed were there since vector displacement, I think.
Oh wow.
So it's been possible for a long time. It's just not really practical.
No.
Which is why I don't think a lot of people are doing it this way. But November was a perfect opportunity to just play around with that stuff and go crazy.
Wow, because you basically just take I don't even know. Do you need to know a lot of math for this stuff? I guess.
I'm not sure you need to know. It's definitely helpful. I mean, I've studied physics, so I have a mathematical background, but it definitely helps. There's a lot of vector maths behind that, but you don't have to really calculate everything on your paper or something. You can just stick together some nodes and it should work as well.
Yeah, I'm just going through the file, and there's like the basic legs. You use RGB curves for like the shape of the legs, even.
Yeah, RGB curves are really, really nice to get some like a height profile with very good controls, because you don't have to. I mean, you could describe that curve mathematically, but that's a pain. So I just use RGB curves to shape the modeling, basically.
Like a custom
profile.
For
the legs, for example, I just say I want symmetric, like radial symmetrics, and then a height profile, which I can define with the curve, which just gives me this nice rounded cylinder, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can just go play around with the curve and change some of these dots and see how it affects the model.
The little legs, like these guys over here.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the shape of the legs in the profile.
Whoa.
Yeah, there you can see how it works.
That's crazy. So what defines the resolution of this? The amount of points, basically?
Yeah, it's the resolution is just the amount of polygons that the model has. So because this is all vector displacement, it can only be as high resolution as the mesh itself.
But you could add maybe like a micro displacement or so.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to have something performant. I think there's a modifier on there, so in the actual rendering, it should be a little bit higher resolution.
Here I'm adding another in the viewport. Shows because I'm only streaming.
Yeah.
Wow, what is the leg distance field, for example?
I mean, it's been a while that I created this file, so I'm not exactly sure. I know every single point.
And what is
here? I have 4 legs on each side, so.
So yeah,
I think I just used this to generate the legs positions and everything.
And you move the legs with its own.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much the point that the shader takes as the origin for each leg.
It's really crazy. So this is on the cloud. You're gonna you plan to share more of this on in the future, like more of the November project on the cloud?
At some point, each of the files that I've created should be on the cloud, but right now there's this one which I uploaded today.
But you plan to add more?
Yeah.
With explanations maybe at some point?
Nothing really sure at what point they will be online, but yeah, that's all I can say right now. I'm not sure.
Awesome.
They will be online.
It's just amazing, the work you've done. It's just amazing. So, Jack, have you ever thought of nodes being used this way?
I have no idea how it works, to be honest. How to create such a micro, I have no idea.
Is it like the world of shading nodes? This is a completely different world from
but there are so many words with nodes, so shading nodes and compositing and everything, it's all fairly different, but also similar in some way, but yeah, that makes it interesting.
Is it like the work that you're doing in the functions branch, for example, is that affecting in any way other sides of Blender, like compositing or cycles or EV?
So I am hoping to get some of the nodes that are, like I saw it in the question for today already, for example, a switch node that we really need for the functions branch and for particle nodes and so on, because we want to do something like select some input. And we could get such a node from the functions branch into other areas, like for compositing or for shading, works the same way. And then in general, like more node tree UI improvements, like better groups and more interesting node group inputs and all that stuff that are really necessary to get more done with nodes that like are not specific to the functions branch, but is something I will work on in general.
In general, like the functionality of nodes, as in the node editor.
Yeah, right.
Wow, yeah, I know. Like in the animation nodes, for example, you made it so you can search for the name of the nodes of the inputs inside
the operations sometimes. So
yeah,
that's one nice thing that we really should have in cycles and so on, that you can, for example, search for add and then you get an add node instead of having to search for math and then you have to select the operation afterwards.
Yeah, is that something that you plan for doing for the whole all the editors?
Yeah, of course, because that should be fairly easy like this. No,
for you
actually. Yeah, I mean there are other things that are much harder than that. Yeah.
Wow, I have here because you also are sharing files, and I also put them in the description below, by the way, where you are sharing some of the work done in the functions branch. The functions branch has been around for a year at least, more than a year.
A couple, yeah.
But there's also
almost a year.
It's also the simulation nodes branch. That's a completely different thing.
So maybe I should explain. So the functions branch is basically what I was working on like until the beginning of February. So this contains like a working prototype basically of all the like it's the branch I worked in to develop the particle node system. So I did experiments and everything. And since I was in Amsterdam 2 months ago, there we discussed the different things and decided on a design. And now I'm working in a separate branch and actually implement the design. For example, in the functions branch, all the nodes are implemented in Python still, like the user interface, not the actual evaluation. And now I'm integrating this into C++, so that it is more similar to the existing node system, so that afterwards I can implement improvements for all node systems at the same time easier, instead of just for the currently existing nodes or just for the new nodes.
The Python interface is just you did it because it's fast and a prototype,
right,
I guess.
Right.
Yeah. But the goal is at the end to have everything in C. So
I'm currently not working in the functions branch but I keep it up and working because it's a nice way, like for now, so that you can actually play with the particle system before it is actually finally implemented in Blender. So to get the general idea of how it works.
You mentioned that this file that people can download the link is on the description. This file plus the functions branch, it's going to work today, but maybe in a few days, next week, if you're watching this video a week, 2 weeks from now, or in the future, might not work because there are big changes coming.
Right. Yeah, could be. Maybe not, but could be.
So the video maybe could be not. Very clear. In this file, I have open the initialization file. I can share the screen with you so you can see it in real time. Just so because the YouTube stream has a little delay. Here, for example, I have the file where the particles go from one shape to another.
Correct.
Do you remember a little bit how this file works? I have here the initialization.
I mean, the initialization part is something that we probably want to move to, for example, modify nodes in the future, but we don't have it right now. So because initialization is like, how do particles get created? and there's no real simulation in the creation part of the initial particle, so we could do that with modifiers. But yeah, what's happening here is we create a bunch of particles. Not sure how many exactly.
10,000.
Right. And like every particle gets assigned a point on every of the target objects that you see in the viewport. Because there are a couple of objects in the viewport, and every particle gets a position on each of these objects. And then during the simulation, the particle gets attracted to always one of these targets. So in the beginning, when you go to the viewport again, so in the beginning, they're all attracted to their target on the torus, and then after a couple of seconds, they go to Suzanne. And then what's interesting is at this point, the particles decide randomly whether they go to the one text object or to the other text object. And what's interesting is in the viewport, you can also move the objects around while the simulation is running. Right. So they will just follow the object.
That's evil. Poor particles. Wow. Nice. Can this be recorded or baked in any way? If you animate it, then it's baked, right?
Yeah, it's difficult to render it out currently, unfortunately. So no, you can't bake it currently. But okay, you will, of course, be able to bake it before it comes into Blender officially.
Okay. And this is 2.9-ish?
Yeah, that's the idea.
So summer for
So
Northern
the good
Hemisphere.
thing is, like, since we now decided on a design, we have a checklist that I'm mostly working on currently. So I created some patches already, and some of the stuff is already in master, but it's just in the upcoming weeks I will just create more patches and merge them one after the other into master. And then at some point we can hopefully just enable the feature, and then it's there.
Oh, wow. And is it going to replace the system, the particle system completely?
Probably not in the first release.
Okay. It's just going to be an option.
It can live well in side by side, at least in the beginning. We really want to get rid of the old particle system, but we will probably break too much at the same time.
At the same time.
By removing the old particle system.
Because the old particle system is also used for hair. Is this going to be used for hair?
And not the particle system, but the plan is to do hair simulation and other kinds of simulation in the same node tree. But that's so we discussed how we want to do it, but we don't have a final design or any development that went into it so far.
Awesome. I have this other example, and then we can jump into the questions because there are like 40 something questions. Here I have a image, or like, what is it? It's like is a mesh.
Okay, there are many particles. Like when you zoom into the node tree again, like on the lower node tree, on the topmost node, we create 100 times 100 particles here. And each of these particles can have a color, and the color is set during the simulation. So at this node, for example, then the particle gets 1 second old plus some variation, a new color is set, and the color is based on some image.
Get image color on surface, and right. It has an image input.
Right.
So you basically are converting this. So is the original image.
Right. So to decide which pixel color is assigned to which particle, the plane under all the particles are used. So you see below all the particles in the viewport, there's a plane, and when you move that plane to the side and then restart the simulation, maybe not all the way to the side, but right. So
there.
you see the mapping is based on. So the image is essentially mapped onto the plane, and then the particles check which pixel color is the closest to my current position.
Wow.
And then there's also the empty in the viewport.
Yes.
And when you select that and move it around, you see.
You are painting.
Right. So that's just some, my test file for a couple of weeks already. So
this looks very.
Just to see if it's everything is still working. So
this looks very readable. Like once it's done, actually, of course, like having to search for this, you have to know the nodes. That's the one thing. But it looks very readable. Now that I see it, for example, it's like, get the empty position XY, multiply the floats and use it as a variation with this color, the color of the other image, the one in the background. Yeah. And the position is based on the plane in the background.
So for like this node tree there is executed for every particle. So for every particle, it gets the position, finds the closest location on the object, gets the color at that location, and then changes the particle color.
That's amazing. Super, super interesting. Is this more or less how it's gonna be in the end? Do you have bigger plans on how this system could change?
So the general concept is supposed to stay the same. There is one major change. Currently in the node tree, you see that there is this colored node which says influences on the input. Like the rightmost node has one input.
Yep.
And we will split this one up into emitter and events and forces, just so to make it a bit more clear what it actually is. Because currently, like set color at age is something that happens at some event. The event in this case is when an age is reached. Yeah. But we want to make this a bit more clear by using 3 different kinds of sockets. But other than that, it's mostly the same.
Because right now, pretty much like you get emitter, events, and all kinds of data into one, which can be confusing.
Right. And also we can make some tools maybe so when you have a forces input on the particle system node, so that you can, for example, click on it. Don't use the menu is bad.
That's what I just wanted to know. I was curious, how many nodes are there?
Yeah, not all the nodes on the menu. So
even okay, so good luck. So but no, searching works, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, that was a bit weird.
No, that was the other search that I have enabled, the custom search. But the search contains all of the nodes that you added so far. Yeah. Okay, so here, like get image, color, and surface. This is also completely experimental. So guys, if you want to play with it, you can go to builder.blender, builder.blender.org, and their experimental branches. You can download the functions branch, which is brand new. It was compiled like today now, and you can get it and play with the files, which are on the description of this video. Thank you very much, Jacques, for making these demos. Super interesting. Anything else you want to add, or we jump into the questions?
Let's go to the questions.
Simon, have you played with these branches?
Once, yeah, but I had the problem that most of the nodes weren't in like you said before, in the menu, just with the search bar. I couldn't really work around that. I mean,
it's hard.
I think it was not a very stable version also, but it's super promising. I'm really interested in that, and I'm definitely going to check out the new compiled version.
Wow. What about the animation nodes?
I didn't have that much time yet to look into it.
Animation nodes, ever tried it?
I've been a long time just thinking I have to try this, but I didn't get around to it because I was stuck on shader nodes. But it's amazing stuff that you can do with that.
It is really crazy what you can do with this stuff. For me, it's scary. I tried animation nodes a few times. It's like, geez, scary. All right, first question by Eric Cow. I want to ask Jacques about everything nodes. What's your plan when it comes to modeling nodes? Will it be anything similar to the 2 existing node modeling based add-ons like Sorcar and Svershock?
So we don't have a final design for modeling nodes yet, or for geometry nodes or modifier nodes, whatever you want to call them.
Modifier nodes is part of this, basically.
Like we are currently working on the design. There are no final decisions yet. If you go to developer.blender.org, there is and when you go to on the right side on the nodes and physics, and then there at the bottom there's some link to geometry nodes proposal or something design.
Yes.
This is like design from William that I am discussing with him. But yeah, it's still very work in progress. And so,
very work in progress, but it's already nice to see that there is a kind of...
Yeah, so we are working on it. And I also plan to write something up for it last week. Unfortunately, I changed my opinion a couple of times during the week. So
hey, it's good. It's good. Changing opinions is good. Otherwise, we're gonna get a refactor in like.
And then, as far as saying it's similar to soccer or Svershok, maybe a bit. We probably even more like soccer. I don't know how to pronounce it, but
yeah.
And then like Svershok. So I did have a look at both add-ons and also at other tools, but it's almost always some mix between the different tools, so won't be exactly like those add-ons for sure.
Okay. Thank you. Next questions by Cuquito ZG. Hola Pablo, Jack, and Simon. Just wanted to ask about texture nodes. Any plan for that? Texture nodes.
I mean, I haven't. I didn't do any work for texture nodes yet.
Forever.
We want to have texture nodes, like new texture nodes at some point, of course. And I think it was on the Google Sum of Code page for 1 or 2 years, but yeah, I don't know if anyone is working on it currently.
Working on it. Yeah. I used to say texture nodes actually recently, and they still work. It's just
I never used them. I have no idea.
No, it's fairly straightforward. Actually, it's pretty powerful too. You can like output bump and diffuse, all different from each on one of the paths. Only so far bump and image and solid color, but you can do pretty interesting things that you couldn't do otherwise. So it has I believe in them. Next question by Sneeve. I really appreciate how passionate you are about good UI design, Jack, and getting the back-end foundations right with Functions Blender. Question: when designing animation or / everything nodes, do you look at other node-based procedural Blender add-ons? Oh, again, the question, or at Houdini, Blendini, other aspects where you deliberatively made the different choices, or are you mostly thinking on from scratch anyway?
So I did look at all of the mentioned apps and add-ons and at some more as well. So I'm trying to do some stuff from scratch, of course, but I like everyone would be lying if they were saying like they are imagining everything from scratch. So of course I look at other apps and see what ideas I can use. And sometimes I make decisions that I don't want to copy something specific. For example, in Svershok, when you work with data, you often, at least last time I was using it, you often have lists of lists and that stuff, and that quickly becomes more difficult or more abstract, and I try to avoid that. And then in Houdini, for example, when you are working with groups, you, for the most part, you are working with names and you have to type those names in, and you want to use like work with groups, for example, or you probably want to call them selections, so that when you create do procedural modeling, and then you have a selection of vertices and or a selection of faces that you do procedurally, and you want to do that with nodes and links between nodes as well, instead of just name based.
Yeah. So you basically want to make it a bit more user friendly overall, without sacrifices. Have you learned a particular lesson from animation nodes?
I mean, I probably learned many lessons.
As for what likely will or won't work in everything nodes?
In animation nodes, for example, I implemented the fall-off system, which works very nice in animation nodes, and I did implement it in the functions branch at some point, but I removed it again because I thought we could do something better. Because in animation nodes, I was a bit limited by the fact that I'm using the the Python API, and so I had to encapsulate some more functionality within, for example, a for-loop. But then now, when I'm working with C and C++, and I also learned a lot more about how to make things fast in the last year, I can give the user much more flexibility without
sacrificing.
Yeah, for example.
Awesome. Yeah. Next question. Would it be possible to get more inputs on node trees/node groups? For instance, node groups can only use values and textures as input controls. Maybe we could get color ramps and toggle tick boxes as well.
Color ramps are probably more difficult, and at least for shading for the particle nodes, we might be able to do it, but it's difficult to make it efficient when every particle or at every sample you have a different color ramp. We could make it work if it's like a global value that is like, it doesn't change between samples or between particles. And then for checkboxes, or what you call it, toggle tick boxes, that's actually easy. And I actually tried it today, and you can already do it.
Like a Boolean.
In shading nodes. The issue is that you, as a user, you can't create those inputs because we have no shading nodes which have checkboxes as inputs. But when you create a node group input as from Python, you can actually make a Boolean input which has a checkbox.
Oh.
So if you're an add-on developer,
you can
already do that.
Thank you. Next question by Damian. I know that it isn't the time for a feature request. No. But it's good to always do it though. Procedural approach demands procedural measures. I believe the shader editor needs a switch node will help to have different texture maps, colors, and textures randomly spread among many copies of an object, trees, leaves, particles. I assume it has to have a dynamic node connector as well. This workflow could be easily done with the current nodes, although one dynamic node is better than 10.
Yeah. So I was actually implementing a switch node, like in the same way in the branch I'm currently working in right now, like today.
Like today. Like we stopped for this live stream.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of the things that we could also have in cycles, of course. The difficult thing is the current node system doesn't really support dynamic nodes in a good way. For example, the switch node, you would like to have it so that you can have as many inputs as you want, but the current system doesn't really allow that. And I have implemented more than one system, like more systems that allow dynamic nodes, and then the functions branch, you have dynamic nodes everywhere.
Yeah.
And I would like to implement the same thing for cycles and the other node systems as well. Yeah.
So next question. Thank you. Like some people in the chat are recommending to look at variable switches from Katana, I think, as inspiration. Loops, arrays. So okay, the next question is, hey, are there any plans for new procedural noise nodes similar to this other software by Adobe, like procedural noise nodes? This question is for Simon.
I don't know which noise nodes, like what specific noise nodes
procedural noise
they have that we don't. So I don't see any fundamental reason why we probably can't have those, but yeah, I don't know which one specifically.
But Simon, we had there are new noise nodes, right, in 2.82 and 1 even.
I don't know about new. The Voronoi node got a lot of improvements.
Yes.
And there's currently a few improvements going on different other nodes as well.
Yeah, we got the white noise node, which is new.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then all the 4D noises, of course.
Yeah, a lot of improvements on the different noise textures. Yeah.
4D noise.
I'm not exactly sure on the noises they were talking about in the question in the other software, but I think because it's not entirely procedural or procedural in a different way in that software, they may just use very high resolution bitmaps because it's just pixel based, and in Blender is vector based. It's a little bit different.
Okay.
Interesting. Next question is, I beg you for this. When can we expect the node-based smoke simulations and node-based hair and fur system and modeling? Okay, that's begging for a lot of things. Okay, so things first, smoke sim with nodes.
Yeah. So I think you talked about with Zebas already, and
yeah,
we want to use the same node tree that we use for particle simulation. So the idea is, like last week, I implemented a new data block type for Blender, a new ID data block. So a fairly fundamental thing, which is called simulation, which will contain the node tree for the particle system and eventually also for smoke and other kinds of simulations. For hair and fur, they're probably like, it's one thing is simulation and the other thing is actually creating the hair and fur, which will probably be done in a different node system, more something like modifier nodes probably. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you. And modeling we already mentioned. Next question. Hi Pablo, I'm really missing something like a color palette or an option to access the color palette from the color picker. Okay, this is not related at all, but it's it's actually this suggestion came up with the Blender and the Grease Pencil team, and I think it would make sense to have a quick access from the color picker to access the color palette. There are a few proposals, but nothing has been implemented so far. Thank you. Next question. Is it possible to add a mask nodes section to the node editor? Would mostly include the existing nodes and it will generate a black and white mask from the nodes. Why black and white only? We could have color masks. This would help to generate a procedural mask and would incredibly speed up the VFX video editing workflow. Like mask nodes.
I'm not sure, but like in shading nodes or in compositor nodes?
Anywhere, because you know your masks are super generic. You can use them in the sequencer, you can use them in the motion tracker, you can use them in images, even in the image editor. You edit them, but they're pretty generic. So like mask nodes, that's a good idea. It's it's a good idea. Next question. How do you approach creating complex shader? This one is for you, Simon. It's your time to shine. Yay. How do you approach creating complex shaders, especially those that basically encode a 3D model, like the snowman? Yeah, this is an example. Like this snowman. How do you even make this thing? How can you
see it right now?
Sorry?
Oh wait, I can just go
the snowman. Remember you made a snowman?
Oh yeah, my snowman. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, your snowman on the November.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the shape I want to create. Sometimes it is actually sitting down and doing the math, but sometimes it's just shaping the geometry with the nodes by using methods, for example, with the curves, which you can see in the example file with the microbe or the tardigrade. Yeah, it really depends. For the snowman, the trickiest thing was getting the geometry where I needed to be, because as you can see with the carrot nose, I have to shift the geometry out of the broader center into the middle to actually have enough resolution, because I can't just extrude it from the center. I lose all the geometry detail, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I want there to be more polygons, so that's a little bit more tricky. I have to do some math to actually shift the geometry beforehand, but then I can just take basically information, how far am I from the center, and then extrude with height profile basically from there. Wow. It's a bit difficult to explain on the spot right here, and it's not a trivial task, but it depends on the shape I want to create.
The same with the hat.
I can do a lot of things already with shaping vector fields basically with a curve node.
Crazy. Like, how can you split into parts and only work on one aspect without messing up everything else? How useful do you find the techniques you learn here for more down-to-earth materials? Like, as in, do you even use everything that you learn in these crazy examples on your everyday?
Well, definitely not everything, but it helped me a lot to really get down the fundamental techniques that I'm using for everything else, because the techniques are basically the same. It's never as crazy as for the stuff I did for November, but the basic techniques that you just string together for a complex shader are pretty much the same. So it was really helpful to just get the practice.
Wow. Super nice. Crazy stuff. Thank you again. How can I wrap my head? Oh, it's part of the same question. How can I wrap my head around vector displacement and practice it? Any quick tip?
I mean, vector displacement was the big thing in November because you can really control the whole geometry. Maybe the file I'm providing with the microbe helps a little bit. The thing is, it's pretty complex and you shouldn't start at that point. The most important thing about vector displacement is just understanding what is a vector and how is it represented with RGB colors in the shader editor, I think.
Wow. So without vector displacement, November would have been completely different and more limited.
Yeah, it would have been super boring, honestly.
Just fierce. Awesome. Next question. So is it, hey everyone, what nodes or features of current nodes do you feel are missing from Blender currently? What features are missing on, maybe for you, Simon, as well? Like, is there any node that is missing? The node itself.
Honestly, a couple of the questions that came already, like the mask node, like having a spline shape.
Yeah.
As a node input would be really cool. I've been thinking about that for a while. And yeah, the different things like a switch node. Pretty much the things that have been mentioned already. Yeah, I pretty much agree with. Actually.
A blur node, but usually you can.
Yeah, I mean a blur. Yeah, the age-old question of the blur node.
Yes.
It would be cool, but I don't really see it.
No. And Jack, do you see it? Do you see a blur node in the blurry distance?
In cycles, probably no.
No.
For texture nodes, yeah, of course.
Yes. Awesome. Next question. What do you think is the most underappreciated nodes are? That's nice. That's a nice question, Anity. What do you think is the most underappreciated nodes?
For me, actually, I think the RGB curves node. As you've seen, I'm using them quite a lot to get some easy control. Yeah, and maybe just the math node.
Just the math node.
I mostly just string together math nodes for the things I'm doing.
Wow. So this feature that Jack was mentioning, that you can type, add, multiply.
Oh yeah, I spend like 50% of my times when I'm creating shaders looking for the huge in the huge menu of the math node, just for the right operation.
Oh,
takes ages.
You hear that, Jack?
Yeah.
You can extend somebody's life. Next question. Jack's just random. With everything nodes, will we be able to still work in the Blender the old-fashioned while Blender generates the corresponding node tree behind the scenes?
I'm guessing that's related to modify nodes and modeling nodes, and yes.
Okay, so it is gonna be, this is still gonna be a user-friendly kind of a way.
I mean, you will be able to do edit models in edit mode as before. Like, there's no plan to get rid of that at all.
Thank you. Will we be able to have a sort of custom procedural generator for procedural modeling? I think once we start going procedural, there will be templates / presets. That's like a big thing.
Yeah, also call it node groups. So.
Yeah, node groups. Yeah, same concept. Next question. 3D Illusions asks, hello everybody. I have a question for the legend that is Jacques Lucke. Jack, can you tell me if you draw inspiration for workflows tools from any other 3D package? We already mentioned this. Additionally, which new functionality have you implemented that doesn't exist in any other softwares to your knowledge? Anything that is unique? besides that it's free and open source?
I have no idea if I've implemented anything that doesn't exist in any other software. I mean, I'm not sure if any other software has the exact same thing with the events and forces, so that you can create your own force and your own events in the same way, but I don't know. Like, how can I know that there is no other software?
Impossible. Would it be possible with everything nodes to create more group types? Really hoping to be able to fit the bevel modifier and edge group, because of often vertex groups are very limiting. For example, in the image below, it's not possible to bevel just the edges you want without beveling the connected edges. If you need to use vertex groups rather than angle, etc., you can open the image in a new tab.
So yeah, I think it's like, especially for procedural modeling, it's extremely important to have two basic concepts for Blender, which we kind of have already partially. At least we have custom attributes for vertices, for edges, for faces, and for loops like face corners. And then we also need selections, which are basically like the vertex groups we have now. Vertex groups are kind of a mix between attributes and selections currently. But so yeah, we want to be able to have vertex selections and edge selections and face selections, but more of them. Like in the same way we have vertex groups right now. Sometimes they're also called selection sets, I think.
Yeah.
And then this, of course, for edges and vertices and faces and possibly other things.
Thank you. Oh, and thanks for the VS Code extension. It's amazing. It's possible to get it working with daily builds. I only seem to be able to get it working with the currently installed version of Blender. It's a compliment and a feature request. For those that don't know, the VS Code is an extension that Jacques made to make making add-ons much easier. Testing add-ons.
So I made an extension for VS Code.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
VS Code is an IDE.
Yeah.
Next question. Sup, boys? Will we use nodes for rigging as well in the future?
In the future, eventually. Yes.
Eventually. The future is very wide, but yes. Yeah. Well, with everything nodes, you're based, no, everything with modifier nodes.
So we were discussing it a couple of times, and I was approached by 2 or 3 riggers who shared their ideas with me, but yeah, it's not something I'm working on right now, and there's no real design for it currently. So
thank you. But yeah, we talked about animation with Sibren in the previous last week, and he mentioned that in the future maybe even constraints could be made with nodes. Next question. Dark Noodles Origin asks, hi Pablo, Jack, and Simon. I hope you're all fine. I hope you're too. First question. Do you think we will have more nodes like normal map combine, parallax occlusion mapping, pattern repeaters, shapes, and so on? So basically nodes from another software. Creating them from scratch in Blender can be really difficult and time consuming.
Yes and no. I think many of these things are like shapes, for example. Some custom shapes are probably much harder to do in shading nodes and for cycles compared to some pixel-based thing like the compositor, for example. And same is probably true for pattern repeaters and the other things. But so yeah, I don't know what all of these are, to be honest. So.
Yeah, and like some of them sound like it could be made with like the regular add-ons, but it could be templates or node groups / preset /
Yeah, some of these you can do with your own node groups right now, and they could be included as templates, I guess.
So with the current,
I've done a bunch of these already.
For particle nodes, I'm actually working on last 2 weeks also, I worked on a system to include node groups in Blender and ship them with Blender, because for the particle node system we really need that, because I want to have just a very few and a small amount of built-in nodes, and then most nodes should be groups built on top of these built-in nodes. And for that, we need a way to ship node groups with Blender, because otherwise it would be unusable. So yeah, and that's working already. So maybe we can use it for shading nodes as well at some point.
Yeah, it sounds really good. I think the shader nodes could really profit of that.
And then my current solution is hopefully just a temporary solution, because ideally that should be part of the asset manager project. But we decided that I should just create something that works for now, because it's probably not a good idea to wait for the asset manager.
Please don't. Just make something that works, and then we and then it gets replaced. But first, make it work, please. Next, second question, actually the same. On the same question, nodes are very convenient, even in fields we wouldn't have thought about. For baking, for example, there is an add-on called Bake Wrangler that automates the process of pairing baking pairs. Do you plan on including this add-on or a similar method in Blender officially? I don't know the add-on.
Me neither.
Bake Wrangler.
I mean, if the add-on developer wants to include it in Blender, he has to come to us, I think, instead of the other way around. So
yes, but yeah, exactly. It's just the approach. Yeah. And I mean, if it's not too hacky.
I mean, we probably won't go to any add-on and say we want to include it, because it also means we have to maintain it.
Yes. But if you have an add-on and you propose it and you say, okay, I'm going to maintain it, and you sign with your blood in a paper, you send it to Amsterdam, then it's fine. Next question. Simon, please, could you make a tutorial series explaining how to best use the vector nodes for procedural textures?
Well, yeah, it's complicated stuff sometimes, and it's not that easy to make, but I can say that since I'm working on the at the Blender Studio now, I'll be doing stuff for the cloud. It's also said that I'm doing some training. You can look forward to that. It's not really announced yet, but there will be some shader nodes stuff.
Yes, I've seen it. I can say it that I actually have seen some of the work that you were doing in last month, right? In February.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, nice. Yes. Ooh. So you even recorded already some of the stuff. Should be ready to go. Have to release it fast, otherwise you're gonna get the new Blender out, and you know, tutorials have to go out the same day the feature comes out.
Oh boy, yeah.
Otherwise it's outdated. Next question, and Robert says, will there be an equivalent to open shading language nodes in Eevee?
So I'm not proficient in that area, but
no,
like OSL, no, not for Eevee. I think. Yeah.
Next, will there be something similar, like for example a GLSL node or something similar which is optimized for GPU, like GLSL shaders?
I read some response from Clément at some point, or Jerome, I don't remember exactly, and I think they said that probably won't happen because it won't work with the existing like transparency stuff and volume rendering, because it's all fairly well integrated. And if now someone comes with his own GLSL code, probably break everything else. That's what I understand.
Because of the limitations of a GLSL external node compared to the shaders that internally.
Because it can't integrate as well with the other nodes and other like volume and transparency and everything. Yeah.
Next question by Pascal to Jack. Will nodes have better performance than the modifiers? Huh? Especially that people can create very complex graphs, and some it will be possible to add your own from the API.
So nodes, I mean, if you can have nodes that have good performance, and also nodes that do the same as currently existing modifiers, that are faster than the currently existing modifiers, but they won't just be faster than modifiers.
Okay. So. Can you name nodes that are slow by definition, just like people should avoid?
No.
No, everything is fast. No, I know. Like for example, Simon, you probably know, right? For cycles, that there are some nodes.
I mean, noise textures in general slow down the
Noise.
rendering quite a lot.
Especially when you have like higher dimensions, like noise should be
the
fast
detail level pretty much dials in the level of complexity of the noise.
Yeah.
The bevel
and
shader
also the
slow.
bump map noise node, for example.
Bump map node is slow.
Not super slow,
but slow. Bevel modifier is bevel shader is also slow. I heard. No, I know.
Yeah, a lot of the nodes that have to take into account the points, like several points to calculate the value they put out. That makes sense, because for example, the bump map node has to look at how the value changes in which direction.
Thank you for the insight. Next question. Cobra says, hi everyone, I have two parts question. First, what is the bigger scope of everything nodes? Is it something like Blendini with total control to the most basic attributes, or the other guy, or in between?
So I think it's essential that people who want it can have access to like every attribute and just have total control over every attribute, like the position and other custom attributes, of course. But we don't want to force every user to have to work at that level. Yeah.
Next question. If we are going to have to go with that, then what will happen to the bounds and constraints, especially they are contained in an armature object? How do they become nodes?
We don't know.
That's for the very far future, so nothing to worry about today. The everything nodes is also like the parent project. It's like it's like the animation 2020. It's like the magic name, but it actually is many little pieces. You know, performance, playback, input, output, everything. Nodes. Next question. All right, we're 6 o'clock actually. We already reached the time, so let's do 5 more. Are you guys okay? Do you have to go? Do you have to leave? Toilet? No, nothing. You're still fine. Okay, you're gonna still fine. Okay, thank you. So let's do 5 more questions. Let's try to answer them quickly. Cultless says, hi, and thanks for your channel. Thanks for the Blender Foundation YouTube channel. Next question. So the current question is, I am working on it's already getting late, it's jet lagged. I am working on a procedural node based texture creator, kind of the style of this other software popular with the painting. I already built some with the Blender nodes. 2 questions. How can I add curves and sliders to a node, like RGB curve or color ramp?
You can't do that currently with the Python nodes API. In animation nodes, I kind of have it working, but it's a hack. So if you want to implement the same hack, you can have a look at what I do in, like, what is it called? I don't know. But in animation nodes, there's some node that uses RGB curves. And what it's doing in the background is it just creates a material, like that, some hidden material basically, and uses some curve that is on some node in that material and displays it in the animation nodes.
You know in which node is it?
I don't remember right now.
I have the code right here.
It's in the interpolation node, I think.
Interpolation node.
So I don't know exactly.
All right, so
yeah.
I'm browsing the code on your GitHub, by the way. Awesome, cool. Next question. Next question. Is it possible to access Blender nodes with Python without adding them in the shader? For example, passing values to the source code of the node, especially texture nodes. I only need the value output generated by the node with own parameters. Or where can I find the math for textures in the source code? Is it possible to access Blender nodes with Python without adding them in the shader? No, I don't.
No, I mean, you can evaluate different noise types with the Python API. There are methods for that. You have to look up the Python API documentation, there are a couple of methods for that. As for the code where the textures, the texture evaluation is defined, it's actually in 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 places in Blender, because they are in Eevee and in cycles, and in cycles like in OSL and in C++, and yeah, I don't know exactly, like I don't know the file name. But
yeah, I was talking with Dalai the other day when about people are asking for a live stream talking about the Blender. I said, hey, maybe we can talk about the Blender code, like this structure, how is it, how is it built? And then I was saying like, yeah, maybe you can show how people can add a modifier or a node, and he was like, no, you have to like change like 20 places to add one.
The good thing is adding a modifier will hopefully become a bit easier soon, because like me and someone else did some refactoring to reduce the number of places you have to add it to create a new modifier.
Nice.
But yeah, probably not a good thing to do in a live stream, because
no.
Go wrong.
But once it's done, maybe it's fun to show it, like 2.9, 2.91 to whatever.
Yeah.
Next question, I think it was 5, number 4. Modifier versus Python versus everything nodes. Hi, I would like to know if everything nodes will questioning the modifiers and even Python scripting. Will they be redundant?
So Python scripting, definitely no. Modifiers, we are not 100% sure, but we might get rid of them at some point, but we are not because we don't have the design ready, we don't know exactly.
Oh, next question. Will be a framework to do literally everything in a non-destructive way? With everything nodes, be a framework to do everything in a non-destructive way, kind of.
Everything, no.
Everything, no, is the name of the project.
Yeah, we don't know.
Will the framework integrate Schwerhock, or they are totally unrelated? No, they're not going to integrate it. The same way it's not going to integrate animation nodes, right?
Yeah.
It's a completely different thing. Are blur masking nodes on the way? No, not that I know. I answered that for you, but I think it's not, right? The focus is to get what is there, and particle nodes, because particles are end of life, remember. So that was okay. Now it's edited. Hey, this is cheating. Editing halfway it's cheating, kind of. Like some old procedural nodes like wood are still very useful. Voronoi appears to be more complex than the one in cycles and don't have a counterpart in cycles. Will they be reused or dropped in the future? Shader nodes are not going to be touched for a long time, right?
I don't think so.
I know. Okay, question number 3, Forker10. Hey guys, hello, what you guys are doing? Hope you're doing good in isolation. How are you guys doing with isolation?
It's quite normal.
Do you know that you can't go out, right? People are, isn't it a normal life? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, glad to hear you guys are doing well. So the interesting thing to me is the whole idea of procedural modeling. I watched Anastasia Opera 2017 SIGGRAPH talk about layering simple rule sets to build complex procedural models, such as energy efficiency for tres. Sorry, first time I received the word, such that they automatically optimize branch structure depending on the environment. Is it the type of possibilities we can expect with the everything nodes, being able to set up simple rule sets for models?
I would have to watch the talk to know exactly what you're talking about. For animation nodes, I implemented some simple rule-based modeling for, with the A system, but I don't know if that is related.
Related to that. Yeah, I don't know either. I haven't never seen it, but I don't want to watch it now. It's gonna monetize this video. Okay, that was the question, and this is gonna tie into the physics system in any way, such that you can use it for interactions, for example rigid bodies.
I mean, since we don't really understand what
Yeah,
rules.
so we don't know. A more practical question, if we can squeeze it in. Can we expect an overhaul of the current animation nodes and nodes UI? Because I believe that this interaction is key to make a system that is powerful. So the question maybe is like, with the new functions branch, would you refactor animation nodes to use it? Or would you just, with the amount of work, you probably just make animation nodes from scratch, built in Blender?
Yeah, I don't expect a big overhaul of animation nodes in the future anymore. Like, it's still being developed, and there are some good features coming in like every week basically, but I don't expect a big overhaul at all.
Yeah, it's actually pretty, I see here is fairly active. If you look at the commits by Omar, is maintaining it. And there are new releases, by the way, which you can find on graphical.org, the community.
We have daily releases actually now, so daily builds on GitHub.
Oh, even.
So we don't really use graphical anymore.
Somebody's is actually, and they're adding extra nodes.
Yeah, right.
It's a fork.
This is also a developer who is making lots of pull requests for animation nodes, and for example, all the grease pencil stuff that's now in animation nodes, he developed it, so that's nice. So he did a lot of
grease pencil nodes.
Yeah, you can animate grease pencil with animation nodes now and create new grease pencil and use grease pencil as input for other things.
Wow.
It's quite fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And that is not yet in animation nodes, or maybe it will never be, but that's what you can test in a graphical. Also, you see people open source, you can just fork it and make your own animation nodes. Even more animation. Next question, number 2. Really looking forward to everything nodes. That's not a question, but it's cheering. Next, I think we reached the numbers, the ones without. So I'm gonna read the bottom one, which is the first one ever done. Will there be more nodes added like bevel node?
Bevel node, yes. And more nodes, yes.
More nodes. Like actually the second night, we already are over with the questions, but this one right next to it actually asks, any plans to create a parallax vector node?
For shading, I guess.
I guess it's for shading like Eevee, but it's completely unrelated to everything nodes, I think, right? Can you do it?
I have no idea.
Simon, can we do that with the current system?
Yeah, I mean, I have done a node setup for parallax occlusion mapping, but it's quite heavy the way it works right now. I'm not sure if it would be feasible to do it as a single node with code to do it more optimized. I'm not sure. It is possible right now with just shader nodes, but it's not that performant.
Okay, I think we are done with the questions. There is a last one. This one is directly to Jack. Actually, it's talking about the wiki page where you mention that the goal of everything nodes is not just to implement more node systems per se, but that the nodes will be an important tool to achieve the goals of everything nodes. Can you elaborate on this? What things are nodes the worst at? Are there other ways to make some things more accessible to procedural workflows?
I mean, the issue is when you want to create something small and you have to go into the node editor and have to find all the nodes and build things from scratch every time. And that's slower, of course, like compared to going into a panel and, for example, you could make a particle system like we have in panels and modifiers and panels and everything. And in some cases, it's much more user-friendly. So we have to find a good mix for that. And also see how we can make node groups where the inputs of the node groups can be displayed in a panel, so that someone can create a node group and someone else can use it without going into the node editor. And
to make it friendly.
Really nice.
More user-friendly, because the other question is related. Will it be feasible to switch back and forth between a visual node tree interface and some kind of scripting language?
I don't think we will make a scripting language that matches a node tree like one-to-one, so that we can convert between them. Could be possible, but I don't think we will do it.
All right, I really abused your your time now. I even asked 3 more questions that were not on the list, so I think we can call it a day. It's already 15 minutes past. I think we're streaming for like 3 days already. I used your time too much. Sorry about that. Thank you for staying until the end, though. It's been another great everyday Blender everyday stream. I'm learning a lot with this live stream. It's like I'm cheating in a way. I say I'm actually working, but I'm learning a lot with the NPR talk, with physics. Now with this one, I wish I could just absorb your knowledge. That would be, I don't know. It's crazy what you guys are doing with the like creating the nodes and then just making. Why did you make animation nodes? Do you make it for yourself? Were you just playing with the idea?
I mean, I wasn't making it for myself, like only for myself. I was actually publishing it like on the second day when I was working on it, so it was always for others.
But what made you make it?
So before animation nodes, I developed an add-on to do camera animation in Blender for motion graphics, and then I had a couple more ideas for different add-ons to do motion graphics, and then I found that most of them have the same core functionality basically, like. And then I wanted to do a node system for quite some time before already, like separately from Blender. And then I just started working on animation nodes as my second or third Blender add-on. So
seriously, second or third? Just I'm gonna make animation nodes. Wow. All right. Thank you for making animation nodes. You're making a lot of people very happy and making crazy stuff and inspiration, because to all the other node systems that are showing up, and the fact that you're now basically just carrying this everything nodes project on your shoulders, that's a big thing. And Simon, thank you for teaching us how to use stuff. How to make this even like weird concept that you make.
It's not that approachable. It's not that easy to convey.
No, but how did you even start doing this kind of stuff? Were you like always doing shading and then you're just like, oh, there's a nodes now, and then, or you come from other software where this is more common?
I've always used Blender, and I'm not really that specialized, I would say, but shading was always the part of the process that I enjoyed the most. And ever since Cycles came out, I was obsessed with like the shading system there. It was really cool to be creative there. And I really wanted to create realistic shaders without using image textures, pretty much. And I just went from there, and it kind of worked out.
It just went. So you were using Blender even before Cycles?
Yeah, 2.49 I think.
Ooh.
Was when I started. Oh no, not actually. I downloaded it once with 2.49, then I deinstalled it because I was intimidated by the software UI.
Same story here.
Yeah. It was just too beautiful.
Then I downloaded it again on 2.50.
Wow, 2.50. Yeah. Even beta, because all those were alpha. 250 was alpha, 251, 2 and 3 beta, I think, and 4 was the first release, or 53, I don't know. And then Jack, which one was your first Blender version?
I mean, same story as from Simon. Like the first one I opened was 2.49, and I never used it for anything. And then on 2.5 something, I started using it. Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. Wow. Yeah. That makes me feel very young. When 2.49 came out, I already worked on a feature film using Blender 2.40. 40. Yes. 41 and 42. And yeah, crazy that yesterday also, even on Twitter, I saw some people using 2.4 in a school, like installing Blender 2.49. I was like, hey guys, there is a new one. There are a few new ones. But it's still, I mean, 249 is very performance efficient. So if you have in schools, you know, sometimes the computers are maybe a bit less powerful. So 2.49 is completely fine. You can do Big Buck Bunny with it, which looks pretty good. Otherwise, people should go to jump, not 2.5, not 2.6, but 2.76, which is the last one to support OpenGL 1.4, I think, or so. And then 2.79 supports needs OpenGL 2.1, and then 2.8 needs 3.3. So a lot of numbers. I don't know if it makes any sense, but for people that want to install Blender versions older in previous version, in previous in all the computers, you can. Anyway, a lot of blah 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 now, so I think I just need to shut up and let you live. Thank you for again for joining this live stream. It's been amazing. I hope we can do it again in the future, because nodes is a very large topic.
Yeah, sure. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, both of you. All right, I will just switch into full screen now, so it's gonna pretend that you're not there. Maybe you can mute yourself, otherwise I'm gonna be shouting in your ear holes. All right, and maybe you can just stay for the awesome epic music. Okay, I full screen it. Gonna see you later. Hello people, hola community. Thank you for staying until the end. It's been an amazing live stream. I really enjoy doing this. For tomorrow, I had no idea what we're going to see. It's gonna be a bit of a surprise. For later this week, I hope we can do some VFX, maybe seeing some weird uses of Blender, like where you don't expect to be used that way, or like crazy. Maybe it's gonna involve a lot of more node stuff. So stay tuned, and we'll talk to you again in the next video. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks. See you tomorrow. Same place, same time. Bye bye. Next tomorrow.